This episode is brought to you by Feedback Now, the world's best real-time feedback platform, and by the Experience Strategy Collaboratives. Welcome back to the Experience Strategy Podcast with Joe Pine, author of The Experience Economy and a whole bookshelf full of other bestsellers. Dave Norton, the founder and principal of Stone Mantle, the Experience Strategy Company, and an experience futurist, and me, Aransas Savas, an expert in coaching, behavior change, and motivation. Last week, we talked about the global fashion brand Zara and how they have done some innovation to better respond to their customers in travel mode. And so we're going to kind of continue on that theme this week by talking about Airbnb. Middle of May of this year, they announced a rebranding really and a rethinking of their platform. So way back in 2007, they asked themselves how to allow people to book homes as easily as they booked hotels. And since then, as we know, they've really changed the game in travel, much to the frustration of the traditional travel industry, I think, but much to the delight of many, many travelers. Since 2007, almost 20 years, they've surpassed 2 billion guest arrivals. And really in that have just been focused on stays. But I think what we're seeing now is them asking themselves, hey, people are in travel mode. What do they want in travel mode? Let's see if we can provide a more holistic answer to that with the full launch of something. We've all watched them sort of flirt and test over the last few years. They're calling them Airbnb services and experiences. But I think with this latest press release, they're saying, no, this is what we do. We don't just do room bookings or home bookings. Now we are really doubling down on services and experiences. So the services are services that make stays more special. Experiences are ways to explore a city with locals. And to do this, they have completely relaunched their app, both for providers and for guests. And so we're going to talk today about what's working there, what we see in the future for them, and what we hope they'll do next. So, Joe, I know you've been thinking about Airbnb for a while in your work. What was your first thought when you read this press release?
Yes.
Same.
Yes. I think it's exactly.
Thank you for listening to the Experience Strategy Podcast.
I think it's.
We'll see you next week.
It's exactly the right thing that they should be doing. They sort of went. The experiences came out like just before the pandemic, and they switched to all the remote experiences, which actually saved a lot of people. Right? I mean, most all those people are small businessmen and women. They often single proprietorships, and they almost single-handedly save their business by doing this. I participated
and learn some new skills along the way.
Exactly. And so now they're doubly. They then sort of dropped off on it a bit, but they've come back and doubled back. It's interesting that they add services also to the experiences. Although when I looked at it, one of the things I found most interesting is many of what they listed under services are actually experiences, like massages and other spa treats. Even having your makeup done is not just about the makeup. It's people touching you that gives a very visceral and often emotional experience to people. And a lot of the experiences they listed were in fact transformations. Or at least putative transformations with training, with learning how to cook, learning how to bake, learning how to make things. And so they really need to add a third tab there of transformations and make
but
that. But
not call it that, please. We've done research.
Call it something. But they are, they can keep it under experiences because they are transformative experiences. But, as a guy whose next book is The Transformation Economy, talking about transformations, right? I'd like that explicit recognition. and whatever the right word is, it would go a long ways to teaching people that, hey, that's what they're really buying here, right? Is a change. They're buying a change in identity. They're buying the ability to achieve some aspiration that they had. And one of the things I've long noted, I got this from a book called Travel That Can Change Your Life. It's about 20 years old by Dr. Jeffrey Kotler, a psychologist, I think. But he made the point that when we travel is when we are most open to change. Right? We get out of our quotidian lives, get out of our daily routines, and we go someplace new. We start to experience things new, and it opens up to new possibilities. So I think that is huge. Secondly, it's, Airbnb has always been a matching platform, right? Is that you've got sellers on one side, you've got buyers on the other, and you match them together. Where I think the huge opportunity is in becoming an operational platform, which is where you actually help them have those experiences. You design not just individual discrete experiences, which is the case today, and you as a traveler have to be your general contractor basically to fit, well, where do I want to do this, where do I want to do that, and amidst everything else I want to do. And an operational platform is one that basically puts together an adaptable, mass customized itinerary that let us manage your entire itinerary that you go. Sure, you book your flight someplace else, but give them to us. We'll help you get from the airport to your place. We'll put in the slots on your time. You think about.
That's so good. We'll help you remember what you signed up for.
Right, and ideally help you prepare for them and reflect on them afterwards, right?
But they're doing that. I was shocked to see that they built that in.
I didn't see that. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so it's built into the community aspect of it. And so one of the examples they show in their press release is, hey, everybody, so excited to meet you all for this class. What are your goals for the class?
Excellent.
So good. I was like,
I saw that. Yeah.
It was honestly just about my favorite part in the whole thing. But
it would have been mine too if I had noticed it, or.
And then it said, and then we'll help you stay in touch with the friends you make at your experience. And what that's doing, right, is it's creating an extension of that experience. It's deepening the experience into real life, which is what we all crave, but is really hard for a brand to do. And the power of Airbnb being the one to do this is that they are already pervasive. They already have the reach and the access to be able to do this. And just, we've seen so many amazing people and teams think about this, but nobody had the scale to be able to pull it off, I don't think, until Airbnb decided to really go there. So, yeah, I think that piece of it, the invitation, the preparation, and the extension are remarkable.
Yeah, and what I call the new book encapsulation is what's key to turn experiences into transformation. So it is that preparation ahead of time that you're saying they're doing. It is then reflection afterwards to think about your experience, think about how, what you learned, what the highlights were, what a difference it might make in your life. And then I think they can do that fairly easily as well. It's as simple as, they can even have a standard set of questions after every experience. Say, hey, think about these things, maybe open it up to the community of all the people that were there so they can think with each other. And then the last part of encapsulation is integration, which is what happens when you go back home. And how do you then integrate those changes in your life? If you could think, for example, if they took a class on learning how to make Italian food, for example. Well, then when you get back home, here's other places where you can take further classes that are local to you, because Airbnb is everywhere. It means everywhere they are today, in their daily lives, there's some experience around that you can have with Airbnb. And that integration is what can make the experience last through time.
Talk about time value.
One of the things I'm just going to toot Joe's horn here just a little bit more. So we went through this period of time, about a decade back, where everybody was calling it the sharing economy. and they were talking about how sharing was going to be what the economy was all about, and so you have all of these different solutions that are being created where basically you're matching, like you said. What's interesting with Airbnb is that they're realizing kind of the end of the sharing economy, or not, or they've stretched the sharing economy as far as it'll go. And where do they have to go in order to continue to create value? They have to think in terms of the experience economy. So
Exactly.
once again, another quote unquote economy is being affected. If you want to actually create value, you have to focus on experiences and transformations if you're over the long term. Otherwise, you will be commoditized. And I think that's really, really important to point out.
We know how much clutter there is in experience data and how hard it is to pinpoint the real issues. That's why we're so excited to introduce you to our strategic partner, Feedback Now, the world's best company for real-time feedback. You've heard us talk about contextual insights and understanding customer situations. Well, that's exactly what Feedback Now does. They process over 130 million customer opinions each year in over 50,000 unique locations around the world. Companies who employ Feedback Now see an average increase in satisfaction of 15% in just 6 weeks, my friends. Feedback Now is the choice for real-time sentiment data collection for some of the world's best airports, retailers, and hospital systems. Why? Because they don't just capture immediate customer sentiment. They help you see the patterns in your data. No amount of AI can compensate for not having real customers giving you real-time insights into your experience. That's what Feedback Now, with a little assistance from Stone Mantle, does. And friends, I am happy to announce that Feedback Now and Stone Mantle's Insights teams are giving away a free pilot program to one lucky listening company. All you have to do is go to their website, which we've listed in the show notes, share your idea for a real-time data project that you wish someone would help you with. The crack team at Stone Mantle and Feedback Now will review all of those entries for the one with the highest potential to produce the most interesting and profitable results and select one winner, which we'll announce right here on the show. Friends, you know that Joe, Dave, and I lead the Experience Strategy Collaboratives. What you may not know is that this year is the 20th anniversary of Stone Mantle. And to celebrate, we are pulling out all of the stops. This year's program will help your company create the best AI solutions, the best transformation experiences, the best engagement strategies, and it will help you shape your business model for the future. And for listeners of this podcast, we have an amazing offer. We're giving away a one-person membership to the collaboratives, a $35,000 value. Yep. The winner can participate in the collaboratives for free. To enter, just complete our entry form and subscribe to the Experience Strategist Substack. You'll find links to both in the show notes and on our Substack, theexperiencedstrategist.substack.com. Enter to win through June 30th, 2025.
I also think it's interesting to think about the fact that cruise ships have been doing this for a long time. So cruise ships have been, they have excursions. And originally, that's why you went on a cruise, is for the excursion. And now you go on cruises for the ship, as much as you go on cruises for the excursion, because so many of the activities actually happen within the ship itself. And I will be interested to see if the next iteration of guest homes actually start to include many of these experiences. One of the things that I think has happened is that originally people were just basically sharing their home, whatever their home was, however it was built for their lifestyle. I've been surprised that there aren't more people now that there's a market out there for this type of thing. There aren't more people out there that are building original builds for the express purpose of renting them out as Airbnbs, and therefore changing the design so that it includes the features that are most likely to draw attention to.
I've got a great example for you.
Okay.
Speaking of horn tooting, so a graduate of our experience strategy certification and our collaboratives program, someone we really admire and work closely with, Sally. Oh my gosh. Frankel, thanks. That was embarrassing. I just saw her this week. We were talking about Viktor Frankl too. I should remember her last name. Anyway, Sally, admire her, love her. Sally and her collaborator, Wendy Bosalavage, decided to create a space specifically for that. And it is an experience-led space. It is essentially an Airbnb retreat center. And it's in beautiful scenery. Your booking comes with a list of chefs that you can hire to come and cook for you, who will also do your grocery shopping, housekeepers to do on-site housekeeping, yoga teachers to do on-site yoga, a massage room with a list of massage therapists you can hire. And so what you see happening there, and I've actually done it, is people rent the space for a week, sell off seats to attend to stay in this Airbnb with them, which is essentially a DIY retreat center where they have kind of created the end-to-end resource set that you need in order to be successful easily. So it's experience stacking on many levels, and I think it's a great example of what you're talking about.
Where is it?
It's in the Catskills in New York. And that's in Valley.
Can you book a comic too?
Perhaps, maybe like one from the early 50s style.
Right.
We in New York think of the Catskills in many other ways too. It's not just that.
I think that's the Poconos you're thinking of.
I think yes. I thought that's what you were referencing here with the comic. But it's really smart, and it makes it really easy, and it's stacked with all of these principal experiences. So you've got like a salt room and a sauna, and all of those features are just sort of built in there. So as an experienced leader, the retreat leader in this case, you've got everything you need. But I think what I thought you were going to go with this, Dave, was more Airbnb host providing experiences, right? So maybe if you're lucky, your Airbnb host is going to like leave you a bottle of wine, or ideally at least a list of places that they like and that they've vetted. And I think that's really great, but it's almost like what we can expect to see happening is more and more of them providing experiences and services directly and getting a cut of that action by being their own facilitator within this system, and essentially becoming B&B host as opposed to Airbnb host, which were sort of like, you take the room, I'll make sure it's clean. And getting up in your business a little more like a B&B originally did, which was, I'm going to make you breakfast and turn down your bed for you.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's exactly what I'm suggesting is that, and by the way, I think all three of us are going to be at an event in September, the Arrival.
I was thinking about that as we were having this conversation.
This will definitely be talked about.
Shout out to our friends at Arrival who are doing an entire conference just for people who do in-destination experiences. You know, if you think about how you're going to grow your excursion business, maybe what you should be doing is building your Airbnb presence and therefore creating some of your own spaces that can then be managed on the Airbnb platform. So Airbnb does become one of the platforms that you use for your excursions. And I think that's what they're trying to do. It is no secret that right now, VRBO or Vrbo, however people typically say it, and Airbnb are way down in terms of their stocks. And I think it's because, people have been there, done that. They have seen these homes, some of which are not that great of an experience. Mm-hmm. And they've kind of done that thing, and now they're looking for something else. And it's time for that industry to really step into the experience economy.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting too. You brought up the sharing economy, and to me, that makes me think of functional, emotional, social, and aspirational jobs to be done again. And weirdly, a sharing economy is just a functional job; it's not a social job. For the most part, it's not helping connect or meet your social needs in any way. Right. It's quite the opposite. It's just cost and time. And so I think, they're moving up that chain now and doing more jobs with this. And they're also doing a lot to vet these. That's their big promise. So the trust issue that you're talking about is a lot of what's driving that down. And they're saying over and over in this, like, it will be a continual practice of vetting these experiences. And you can rely on us to make sure these things are good for you.
Yeah. Since you brought up sharing kind again, let me chastise, or rather just like chide Dave a little bit, when you went quote unquote next to experience and transformation economies, right? Those are the economies. Sharing economy is a quote unquote, because sharing's not, it's not an economic offering, it's not an economic function, but there are relationships between them.
Yeah, no, people forget how many different quote unquote economies we've had.
I once made a list of like 3 of them that I've just seen.
In the time that this progression has continued, right. and will continue, because it's just demonstrably works. It's the only thing that has worked all these years. So I think Airbnb is butted up against it now. It looks like in-destination experiences. I mean, the hotels are doing it. Marriott's got their own offerings as well. We'll see how consumers decide to actually book these solutions. The cruise industry has the ability to say, "Hey, this is safe. So you want to go on the excursion that I tell you to go on because it's, we've vetted these people." And I noticed Airbnb is doing the same type of thing. We've got vetting. We can guarantee you. But
we won't leave you.
We won't, right.
If you miss the boat and you're on one of our excursions, right. But if you're on one of those other excursions, we will leave you.
Which encourages people to actually use
theirs. It just seems so manipulative to me, though.
Even though it's oftentimes more expensive, but it will be interesting to see whether Airbnb can do something similar, or if they're just going to be used as kind of like, oh, that's a good idea, but I think I want to do this instead.
I'll tell you what I love about them from a competitive advantage set is that Airbnb's is inherently more authentic. And again, this is a huge piece of what we're learning in transformational travel, is that authenticity is really key to that perceived value. And there's something about the cruise line as a machine saying, this is our vetted provider. Yeah. And as opposed to, this is a local person who says this is a good thing and they're offering it to you and they're going to go do it with you. And yes, we've checked, they're cool. They've passed our standards, but you're going to be chilling with a local. That to me just feels inherently so much more authentic and therefore more aligned with what customers are looking for when it comes to transformational travel.
That reminds me of my son who just got married. He and his wife were telling me about their honeymoon, telling all of us about their honeymoon. And they did this excursion, and she was describing it. And she was like, first we took an ATV for as far as the ATV would take us up this mountain. Then we got on donkeys, on burros, and we rode them for as far as the burros could take us. And then we had to come all the way down I thought I was going to die. That's the funniest thing I'd ever heard. Cracking me up, like these excursions can get really crazy if you're not, if you don't know what you're getting into.
Right.
So,
And
your things about her husband at that point.
Your point, Dave, earlier about sometimes changing your mind and decide not to go on it. That's where that mass customized itinerary can come in, where you can adapt it, you can change it. It's like they're all of these experiences are basically modules on a linkage system, a bus of time where you slot them in and to be able to change those. And ideally, Airbnb over time can learn about what you're doing and be able to make recommendations customized to you and what you've liked in the past, right? Particularly if you have ratings on them and so forth. And I think that's the great possibility. You mentioned cruise companies too. And the first one to really do this well is the Princess Cruises with their Ocean Medallion. That is a true operational experience platform where you've got your phone, you've got your itinerary, you can go drill down deep on it, you can make changes to it, and they can send you personal experience invitations, they call it, when they recognize that, hey, this is something that we think you might like better than what you've already booked or to fill up this free time that you have. And that's where Airbnb, I think, really has a huge possibility.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, I think they're going to have a nice range. They talk about having a price range on these experiences. So some really affordable stuff and some really bespoke stuff. And I'll say that, having only recently hired a full-time guide for a trip, I used a site called Go With Guide. Seriously, that was the name. And, I hired this amazing guide in Ecuador and kind of told her the places I was interested in. And we had a driver and a guide, and they hung with us for the entire week. And even though my kids both got altitude sickness and were a wreck for portions of the trip,
that's how you know it was a great experience, right?
It was amazing. Amazing. Because you know what? When one kid got altitude sickness, the driver stayed behind with them. I didn't have to.
Oh, it comes with babysitters.
Honestly. And it was like so fully responsive to our evolving needs. It was not the us we imagined we were going to be on holiday. I had one vision for us that was not the reality at all. So by having this responsive guide who knew their way around, we were able to turn on a dime constantly. And I hope that's where a lot of these get to, especially with the more bespoke experiences, the more individual experiences that are not mass customization. This is so exciting. I think it's rare that we all three are like, this is a yes. Keep going. You are on the right track. Really excited to see what our friends at Airbnb do and what this does for the rest of the industry, because I do think it will raise the tide all around for these companies that are providing them. And it'll be interesting to see how VRBO, Verbo, whatever you call them, as you said, fast follows or not. So it'll be fun to watch their strategy as well. All right, listeners, thank you so much. We had some really great conversation over on Substack on our last episode of the show. Go check that out. We all had lots to say after the episode, it turns out, in response to folks' questions. And come and ask us questions. We want to hear your thoughts about this. We want to talk to you about it. You make us smarter. And besides, we're nerds, and we like to talk about this stuff nonstop. So you'll find us over at The Experience Strategist on Substack. Subscribe. And if you haven't signed up for our collaboratives contest, I think it might still be open. And we also have our sponsor contest open. So get over there. This is your final reminder. Go do it. Go win some really sweet swag. We're excited to meet you in person via one of those channels. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.